right. Listen up, you young whippersnapper. Today, as your learned master, I will teach you my ultimate technique. Put your phone down! Huh? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Ultimate technique. Now, watch very carefully. The stance is the key now. You see that? If one of your Madaras or your Whitebeards or your Eisens were standing there right now, I would have sent their heads to the moon! Okay, well, I could think of at least two problems with that. Number one, the moon is that way, like, you could see it right there. And also, that really didn't seem all that impressive of a punch to me. Oh, shut up! That's just because you couldn't see the true power in the fist of... Oh no. What? That right there is my former apprentice slash master slash father slash final boss of this series. Ah, okay then. Well, you should probably take care of it. I'm just gonna head inside and... No! Get back, young fledgling. I'll take care of this one. With the most epic battle never before seen by human eyes. Oh my god, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life! Oh my god, when you were flying around and zipping and then boom, right in the ground. That was the freak. Yeah! Hey, are you dead? Yeah, pretty much. Make sure you avenge me, but don't upstage my battle. But avenge me! Don't worry, Master. I will avenge you. After 3 training arcs, 2 bullshit power-ups, and 1 bottle of water, because it's very hot out here right now and staying hydrated is important, I will defeat him. Ah, that's good water. Okay, talking about old people today. Now, don't you just love it whenever you have a really cool, really sleek, really badass old character in a shonen manga, and up until that point in the story, they didn't have to be in part of like every single major fight, right? We didn't have to see everything they're capable of, but just their presence and just how other characters build them up, you know they are not to be crossed. They are not to be messed with. Yamamoto, Captain Commander of the Gotei 13. Netero, the chairman of the Hunter Association. You know, Jiraiya, one of the Sannin, third Hokage. Ichi Ryu, the president of the IGO. It's just like, you know, based on what we know about shonen manga, and these are really badass old dudes that have positions of power and authority, you know, they're really strong, okay? But don't you just love it, getting back to my earlier point, whenever these old characters get into a serious battle, and they have to go full throttle, and they're busting out all of their skills, everything they learned in their decades, sometimes centuries of accumulated knowledge, and they're going at it full power, and you could just look off into the distance of the fight, and in way off, you can kind of see over the horizon that death flag being raised as high as it can freaking go until it, like, blots out the sun. That's how big the death flag is, you know? Don't you love that? Okay, I don't. Now, it's not a universal rule where whenever the old character goes full power, they also have to meet their end in that same fight. There are examples where that doesn't happen, like Makarov in Fairy Tail, although I don't know if you really count that because, like, nobody in Fairy Tail dies in Fairy Tail, so, you know, but he does go full power, actually, multiple times in the story against an enemy, and he manages to somehow squeak out alive. But okay, it's not a universal, you know, example. Okay, fine. But I don't like that, because a lot of times you could see it coming a mile away, and it kind of detracts from the battle. Not all the time, but, you know, like Yamamoto. I don't know if there's somebody out there that maybe when he saw him go Bankai, he thought, oh, okay, he's gonna make it through this. But me and a lot of other people, man, we see Yamamoto go Bankai against Yuha, and it's like, alright, this is gonna be it. I mean, it's gonna be a cool battle, but yeah, we better make peace with this now. He's not gonna make it out of this alive. And he didn't. Alright? Now, it leaves a lot of memorable moments, right? You know, that battle against Yuha, I mean, we got to see him pull out all the stops with his Bankai, all the different, you know, cardinal directions his Bankai had, resurrecting an entire army of burning skeletons straight from hell. That was cool, right? But we're never gonna see it again. That's the sucky thing. It's just like we only get to see all the stuff they're capable of right before they meet their end. And, you know, you could always say there's a storytelling element to this. You know, a lot of times the old characters there are there to represent, you know, the earlier generations compared to, like, the main cast. Like, you know, Sarutobi represents the old guard. You know, here you have Naruto and Sasuke bringing up, you know, the new generation, right? Stuff like that. We have young Shinigami like Toshiro Hitsugaya becoming captain to kind of, you know, carry on the legacy of Yamamoto. And, of course, all the hunters in the association, right? So the story is not about them. They're about the new group of people coming up. These guys are really just around to be mentors, to be symbols, to inspire. That's what they're there for. But still, you know, you want to see them, at least I do, I want to see them go full power, at least in a few fights, alright, before they finally meet their end. And the good way about doing that, if you are going to do it that way, where it's like, okay, you got this character going full power against this enemy, and they manage to make it through, then it keeps you guessing later on, like, even if they are still going to die at some point, you don't see it coming, alright? Netaro's battle with Meruem is one of the most beautiful, symbolic fights in all of manga, in all of anime. It's amazing. It's beautiful, the way it ends. But that doesn't change the fact that when it happened, I mean, there was a lot of build-up with Netero before the battle, like, where he cut off his top knot, and he was wearing his shirt, and he just looked solemn, and you could see it in his eyes, like, yeah, this is gonna be my final battle, like, I'm gonna die in this. Like, you knew that kind of going into it, which kind of makes me think of Togashi, like, he laid it on that extra thick just because he wanted us to know, like, it wasn't like something where he wanted us to second guess, like, well, maybe he could make it out alive. No, Togashi wanted to layer it on like that to make us be aware, like, oh, no, this is gonna be his final battle. I want to make you guys aware of this because Netero's aware of this, so when he goes into that final battle, it's all the more palpable, right? But even so, I mean, it would have been cool to see Netero be in a few more fights, you know, before he fought Meruem, maybe in some earlier arcs where we got to see his Nen power, because we only got to really see what his Nen ability was fully capable of during the battle with Meruem, you know? And so, yeah, I think Togashi, in that respect, he did it in such a way that's passable. But in the state with Yamamoto, I mean, that was kind of inexcusable in my sense, because it was like, alright, we got to see Yamamoto not go full power against Aizen. He only went Shikai against Aizen. He didn't use his Bankai, so we're always waiting, okay, what's Yama's Bankai? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? And, like, literally, when he fought Yuha, we just had, like, you know, a couple chapters where he revealed new stages of his Bankai, and in just one chapter after that, it just flipped immediately. Like, it wasn't even a situation where it was like, okay, Yamamoto has the upper hand at first, and then a few chapters where they're kind of on an even keel, like we don't know which way it's gonna go, and then it eventually ends with Yuha winning. No, it was the entire battle we find out Yama wasn't even fighting against the real Yuha, beats this imposter fairly easily, turns around, the real Yuha shows up, and then just boom, into the ground, stealing his Bankai in the process, which we never even got to see Yuha use. That was something I'm like, okay, well, maybe the reason Kubo didn't, you know, we didn't see his Bankai earlier, or the reason he killed him right now is because we're gonna see Yuha use Yamamoto's Bankai later, so it's like his power still has a chance to shine even after his death, but we didn't even get that. That's the kind of stuff I'm upset by. So, I have a little list here. This is a list of characters that, they're old characters that have all showed their full potential in battle, like their strongest forms or their strongest techniques right before they died, and we don't see them anymore. Now, there's a few exceptions to this because, being that this is the world of manga and anime, there's some instances where death is not the end-all be-all in your story. Like, for example, Dragon Ball is the obvious one. Like, Roshi goes, like, by the way, take away Dragon Ball Z for a moment. Let's just all go back to original Dragon Ball when Roshi went up against King Piccolo. Alright, and he was busting out the Mafuba, and he was doing everything he got, but it was very clear, like, even Roshi knew, I'm not gonna get out of this battle. Like, you know, I have the Mafuba, but after that failed, and he got wiped out by King Piccolo, you know, it's just, he's dead, but he's not really, because Dragon Balls, you know, so it's just like, okay, you know, we still have a chance to see him later on in the series. So I'm not talking about characters like that. I'm talking about characters that went full power, that one fight, and then they lost, and then they died, and we don't get to see them ever again in the story. So we got Netero, mentioned that. We got Yama, mentioned him. We got Ichi Ryu from Toriko, president of the IGO, goes to fight against Midora, shows off his minority world, his chopsticks. Midora kills him at the end of that fight. Don't get to really see him in battle anymore after that. We got Whitebeard. Now listen, Whitebeard was a little bit of an exception to this because he didn't just get one battle where he showed off everything and then he passed on. It was an entire arc. Alright, now still, we didn't get to see what Whitebeard was capable of in full scope before that. So Marineford happens, then that's when he shows off his Gura and his Haki and all of his, like, Bicento skills and everything. He had multiple fights through the Marines, and eventually when Blackbeard's crew showed up, he fought against them briefly before Blackbeard's crew wiped him out. But still, that was basically just like, we're not going to see Whitebeard anymore. Now, of course, we might always get a flashback later on of Whitebeard, maybe back in his prime and all that stuff. Not really sure if we'll get, like, a full-scale battle, you know, in that flashback. We might just get to see a flashback when he was younger. But yeah, One Piece is really one of those series, though, where death is final. Except if you're Brook. But unless you're Brook and you have the power of the Yomi Yomi no Mi, yeah, you're not coming back as a ghost, or, you know, you're not gonna be, you know, resurrected by the Dragon Balls back to your prime or whatever. You know, there's zombies, too, which, ooh, Whitebeard zombie? Even if there was a Whitebeard zombie, he would be manipulated by the person with the Kage Kage, and they wouldn't have their devil fruit powers anymore. But I guess it could happen. But yeah, that's the case with that there. You know, Jiraiya from Naruto. Jiraiya went full power against Pain. We got to see Sage Mode. That was the introduction to Sage Mode into the story. That was okay, I guess. I feel it was more of just like a vehicle to kind of like introduce it so Naruto could master it later. Like Jiraiya's like, alright everybody, I'm gonna show off how cool Sage Mode is now. And then Pain kills him, and then he's like, okay, well now Naruto's gonna learn Sage Mode and be even better than Jiraiya. It's like, yeah, but, you know, it'd be cool to see Jiraiya in a few more Sage Mode battles, you know, before, or if he would have survived against Pain. I guess he pretty much had to get, you know, his end there at Pain, because that really helped inspire Naruto later on. But he could have had maybe a few battles before that. We could have introduced Sage Mode a little earlier, is all I'm saying, right? Just to keep the audience guessing, so you don't see it coming a mile away, right? Now, there's two characters here I want to talk about that do this really well, okay? And one of them's not Makarov, okay? Because like I said, nobody really dies in Fairy Tail. So it's just like, oh, Makarov went full power and he didn't die? Whoa, that's such a shocker. Whoa, he went full power again and he didn't die? Whoa, it blows my mind. Alright, now, there's two characters in two different series that handle this really well, okay? Or their mangakas handle their characters very well, okay? First is Rayleigh from One Piece, alright? Rayleigh is the first mate of Roger, really strong. He's known as the Dark King. Not even really sure entirely what that epithet is even for. You know, why Dark King? You know, what does he do? Does he have some kind of shadow powers, or does he just get really, really grisly on the battlefield? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, he's there. He helps the Straw Hats out at Sabaody. He clashes with Kizaru a little bit. We know he's super strong. We know all the crazy stuff he can do with Haki and all that stuff. He has no devil fruit. He's just that strong, just naturally. Even in his old age, he's still really powerful. But the way Oda utilizes him does not set him up as somebody that's really going to get in a lot of battles. Rayleigh is retired. He's kind of passed on that pirate life. He has no interest in charging into the new world and clashing with Yonko or clashing with warlords or admirals. He could do that. Oh, you bet your sweet Bippy he could do that. If Rayleigh really wanted to, he you know, wakes up one day, walks over to Shocky, like, pour me just, you know what, just give me the bottle of whiskey, and just downs the whole thing in a single glug, and just, alright, I'm gonna go take on freaking Aokiji today. I just feel like it. And he just walks out. He could do that. That wasn't a good example, because Aokiji's no longer a member of the... I'm gonna go take on Akainu today. Bam! Just walks out. He could do that, sure. But he doesn't want to. He has no interest in it, okay? And We still get to see him in battle when he fights against Kizaru during Sabaody. We got to see everybody talk about him, basically just, you know, they're like, whenever they just hear Rayleigh's name, they just like, oh, they're just, it puckers up so tightly, you know, it's just like, no, we're not even screwing with him. And of course, training Luffy in the art of hockey and all that stuff. There was even some added stuff in the anime with Rayleigh, like whenever Luffy went Gear 4th for the first time to kind of show off in front of Rayleigh, like, look at what I can do now, Rayleigh, look what the new technique I figured out, this is Gear 4th, I can fly now. And Rayleigh's like, oh, that's pretty cool there, Luffy, but then he just like zips right in front of him and just twacks him on the freaking forehead and slams him into the side of a mountain, you know, like, so, you know, it's stuff like that, which, by the way, that could have been in the manga. That's canon in my mind, because there's no doubt that Rayleigh would be capable of doing that, right? So, Rayleigh, you know, he's not going to be getting into any serious battles, like, with Big Mom or Kaido. At least, from the way it seems, that's not what he's into, alright? His job was to inspire Luffy, to train him, to get him stronger to the level where he can handle the new world. He didn't hold his hand with it. He's just like, you know, I'm gonna teach you the basics, you take it from there, okay? You know how you fight better than I do, okay? And so I like that about Rayleigh, because after the events of Ruskaina, after the training was done, he sets Luffy off with a smile, and he's just good luck to you. And, yeah, I like the way that's handled, alright? That's handled in a way that's like, alright, yeah, we know he's there, and we know he's super strong, but unlike Yama and Netero, Rayleigh doesn't really have a responsibility to get involved in these major fights. Honestly, we could probably go the rest of the story without seeing Rayleigh in a true balls-out fight, whether he lives or dies, and I would be fine with that. Maybe you wouldn't be. Maybe you really want to see Rayleigh show up at the battle at Raftel and clashing with the Yonko. I mean, it would be a fight for the ages, no doubt, but I would rather that stuff stay relegated to flashbacks. If we're gonna see a balls-out fight with Rayleigh, go back in the past. Show us the fight where he got his scar or something. That would be cool. But where it is right now, where, you know, the way that Oda set up Rayleigh and all that stuff, I'm happy with just that, okay? Now, the other character I wanted to talk about, the character that I think, even more so than Rayleigh, this mangaka did this character perfect. Alright, this is a perfect example of an old character that we've seen in so many battles, such a likable character, my favorite character in the series I'm going to talk about, alright? In this particular series, this guy is my favorite, alright? And you want to guess? You want to guess who it is? That's right. It's Joseph motherfucking Joestar, alright? Yeah, alright, because, think about this, seriously think about this, alright? We get part 1 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Phantom Blood. Okay, Jonathan is the main character of that. Jonathan dies at the end of part 1. Sad. Then we get part 2. The main character is Joseph, his grandson. Now, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is still early on in serialization here. We don't really know all of Araki's tricks yet. And the entire run of part 2 of JoJo, Battle Tendency, they really kind of, you know, pounded into us, like the Joestar family has this kind of curse where the men in the family die rather young, and this is repeated a few times, not just because of Jonathan, but also Joseph's father, George Joestar. Like, they both died relatively young, so it's like this kind of curse is looming over Joseph the entire arc, like, okay, well, is he going to die? Normally, you wouldn't say the main character of your story will die, but look what happened to Jonathan, and this is like a multi-part kind of story. It's a different kind of format, alright? So you're sitting there like, well, we don't really know what's going to happen with Joseph now, do we? And so he goes all of part 2, we get to see how he fights, he learns his Hamon and all that stuff, his trickery against the Pillar Men and all that stuff, okay? And then, the final battle with Cars, he gets launched into the freaking stratosphere, and he's falling down on a freaking piece of volcanic rock. Cars is defeated. He's Space Cars now, but it's like, this is it. This could be the end of Joseph. And we didn't know what was going to happen, but he survived. He survived, and it's like, okay, good. He made it through his series. Oh, but then he becomes a member of the main cast of Part 3, Stardust Crusaders. And at that point, I was like, when I was first watching JoJo's and I didn't know what was going to happen, I'm like, okay, now, whoo, this is a tough one. He was the main character in Part 2, and he made it through that. But now he's more of just, he's not the main character, he's just part of the main cast. He's more of like a dudeagonist in part 3, kind of the mentor to Jotaro and everybody, and kind of the wise, well, he is wise, but he's Joseph, you know? Wise sage to everybody. And this might not end well, though. They might have it as a thing where it's like, okay, he made it through part 2, but now he's going to die at the end of part 3. He gets into a bunch of fights in part 3. Plenty of them were pretty cool. My favorite was the fight with Mariah, because obviously, yes, Joseph, that was my expression exactly. Good job. All right, yes. So he gets into a bunch of fights in part 3, and then finally it comes down to Dio versus Joseph. All right, and let me tell you right now. At the end of that battle, spoilers for like a 20, 30 almost year old manga, at the end of that battle, when it looks like Dio kills Joseph, and he, you know, is beginning to ascend, the spirit is leaving his body, and he's like, you know, you could do this, Jotaro, I believe in you, and he just tips his hat and then fades away. You know what? Considering all the fights we've been in, we got to see pretty much all of his tricks, even his new tricks with his Hermit Purple. I was like, Purple Hermit? No, that doesn't sound right. Hermit Purple. Got to see him do that tricks. We got to see him combine Hamon with it during his fight with Dio and some other fights. I'm like, you know, we got to see everything Joseph was capable of. We got to know him as a person, as a character. You know, we laughed with him, we cried with him, and now this is the end of his character. I was like, you know what? This is a good way to end it. And now he ends his existence, and you know, Jotaro's right there, and Jotaro's gonna take his death as a motivation, as a drive to finish off Dio once and for all. And he does, because the entire time Jotaro is fighting against Dio, he's under the assumption that, you know, Joseph's dead and gone and he's not coming back, all right? And so that gives him that added push to fight through and manage to defeat Dio at the end of it. But also, you know, when they're in the ambulance and they bring Joseph back, I wasn't sitting there like, oh, that's hacks, that's BS, because I got to know Joseph so well. I wanted him to survive, but it's like, you know, if that was going to be his death, that would have been a perfect death for him, but I still want him to survive, and he comes out of it, and it's, you know, a bizarre adventure in the context of that particular story. That worked out. That worked out really well. And also, that really was kind of the end for his character in terms of fights, you know, because he is in part 4, but, you know, Araki doesn't push him into the battles in part 4, okay? He's too old. He's too frail. He's not part of that anymore. He's basically just there for comic relief, right? And a few serious scenes, like, near the end of it, and, you know, because, of course, he's Josuke's father, so you have more moments like that. But in terms of, like, to end the character's battle career at the end of part 3, that was a great way to do it. All right, so, yeah, this was a video more than anything just to talk about really cool old dudes in anime. And my favorite one, which is Joseph, the ones that did it right, the ones that we're a little upset by. And once again, I just want to keep in mind and let you know, like, I'm not saying, like, you know, because I saw Netero's death coming, or because I saw Yama's death coming, that doesn't mean they're bad characters, or it doesn't mean that their battles weren't cool. Of course they were. Usually when you're going to kill off a character, you're going to make diggity damn sure that that battle is particularly cool. But it's just like, you know, in my mind, there's a right way to do this and a way to do this that you could see coming a mile away. And I don't like that latter. I like the former. I like the way it's just like, all right, have it be like Joseph. You know, have it be like a bunch of battles happen and you really don't know which one is going to end them, if they are going to be ended at all. Or do them like Rayleigh, where Rayleigh is like, I'm not here to fight the main bosses. I'm not here to go and take out all the strongest characters in the story. I could fight them, and I am strong enough to go with the best of them, but I'm just not really into that anymore. And can you blame Rayleigh? Rayleigh spends his days hanging out at Sabaody, gambling, going to amusement parks, and he gets to bang Shocky. Alright? So I think Rayleigh he figured out the way to make this work, okay? He's like aware of the trope. He's like aware. It's like, oh no, Oda, I know. I'm not going into the new world. I'm not fighting against those Yonko. You might give me one of the most epic battles ever and then cap me off. I'm not ready to die yet. Come on, darling. Come on, Shocky. And I was just like, we're just staying here. I'm in retirement, man. All right, I like that. I like that. All right. Well, what is, I guess, your favorite old dude battle in anime. Let me know about that below, and if you could see their deaths coming on the horizon during that battle, or even before the battle. And did that diminish the experience for you, or it just didn't matter? It's just like, oh yeah, I saw Yama's death coming a mile away, Tekking, but it was still amazing. It's still great. I didn't even care at the end of it. I mean, he died, but it's like, okay, it was worth it. I'm like, alright, I don't really go that way with it, but okay. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Now, if you don't mind me, I have to go and train up, because I have a sensei to avenge. Also, visit your grandparents. They would love to see you.